You have chiefs and assistant chiefs who can actually verify this information. So I think there is still some work to be done there. And I appreciate your ending statement that if there are bona fide IDPs, the government is open to look at them. The question then is, which is the work that is remaining? How do we determine those bona fide IDPs who the government can still look at? Because I've told you, with the records, I can still see where there are defects. If there's nobody at all, then the records in Nyanza can't be right. There are people who didn't come up, the records can't be right. There are people who came up, but their documents couldn't prove, the records can't be right. So my prayer, Chair, I appreciate the work done, but it's my conclusion that adequate work has not been done. I do appreciate the difficulty of identifying people who went to their homes and didn't stay in camps. I realize there may be people who are trying to take advantage who are not IDPs, but you have the means and the personnel on the ground to identify, so that we bring this thing once and for all to a conclusion. So, Chair, it is I'm grateful, but mine is that the work cannot be complete until we have a way of dispensing with the large list that I brought in a way that will satisfy them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nyikal. You remember when you came here with the petition, I assured you of justice to your people, and we'll get to every point so that you can get justice to your people. It's it can't be complete until SEME has been mentioned and we have data on SEME. So, Waziri, allow me, because Honorable Walter has a concern and is online. Let me give him the opportunity to pose his question. Honorable Walter? Walter, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. I want to thank Waziri for the good presentation. However, having met some of these IDPs 2 weeks ago in Migori, I think some details are missing from the list that he has. First, I heard him talk about how much compensation was received, and he's never mentioned anything to do with some people who are compensated 400,000 shillings and given land. Secondly, he's talked about some people not having met the criteria. I don't know what the criteria was set, what kind of a criteria you're talking about, but when you listened to some of the IDPs, there is one, Mr. Ndege, from Karachuonyo in Homa Bay County, who was in Naivasha. The guy who was locked in the house, inside the house, and his entire family members burnt in that house. This guy has never received compensation. So when we are talking about criteria, I do not know what kind of criteria a person like this, who made news all over, was supposed to meet in order for him to be compensated, and everybody knew that he lost 7 members of his family inside that house. So, I think some people may not have been able to meet whatever is called criteria because of the shock and the trauma that is associated with whatever they went through. So I want to request the Cabinet Secretary, we know he's a hard worker, to kindly relook into this matter. Some people may also have taken advantage to try and forge their ways in or fake their ways in. But we have a way of identifying the genuine IDPs who went through whatever they went through and are yet to be compensated. And it feels quite bad when they know that their colleagues or counterparts they were together with in some of those areas having been compensated fully by the government while they are still waiting. They are really feeling neglected and discriminated against by the government. So, Waziri, kindly relook into this matter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Water. Keep listening. Yeah. Honorable Kivai or Kagesi was part of the team which visited the IDPs. Allow me to give him an opportunity to pose his concerns. Then you can take the concerns from the three members.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me join my colleagues in thanking you, Waziri, for the job, the work you've done so far. Yes, I can confirm I was in the team that went to meet these IDPs in Migori about 2 weeks ago. It was a very moving experience, Waziri, very moving. And I think part of the issues have been raised there by my colleague online. In fact, most of the points I had for you have been brought up very well with the petitioner, Daktari here. I think going back to the people I met and what they spoke, incidentally, in that group we met, I don't know where you have classified people from Tanzania. They were there. They were part of the Western group, and they were quite a sizable delegation, Trans Nzoia County. Everybody stood and talked, and we listened, and we questioned them. Now, listening to this issue of criteria, I really wonder whether any of those people we talked to has ever met a government official. My colleague there has talked of Bwanandege, and he talked there and then he collapsed. Because if anybody talked to Bwanandege, what other evidence would you want? There is a lady who gave us a moving story from Limuru, and so many others. So if those people are genuine, then I don't understand how they've been missed out. Because most of them were saying they have not seen an official, anybody. So that brings the question of the period that this exercise was being done. And you say in your closing remarks that all was done to sensitize this matter. I just wonder how true it is, because I actually was there with them. So I just want to join in with what Dr. Nyikal has raised, because they are the same concern. But just add that having seen these people, I remember walking out and saying, pesa ni kitu mbaya, nikiwa na pesa, even if I had an extra shilling, I would have given them, those people. Those Kenyans are suffering, Waziri. Thank you.
Members, kindly allow me to allow Waziri to respond to the concerns from the three members, Walter, Nyikal, and Kagesi.
Honorable Chair and distinguished members, thank you. I first want to agree with the honorable members who have spoken that it is also my view that we still have some work to do on the issue of IDPs, and it is unfortunate that what happened in our country in 2007, 2008 will remain for a long time to be the clearest demonstration of the ugly side of our politics, because quite a number of people, families were permanently damaged because of the events of violence during that year. First, Honorable Chair, the issue of IDPs, in my view, is a human rights issue. So, even if I said that that program ended, and according to government, we did what we thought ought to be done, the matter cannot be closed because there is no statute of limitations on fundamental rights and freedoms. It will be a live matter forever. It's about human rights. You cannot close human rights and say it's over. And therefore, what I want to assure this committee is that we will remain seized of the matter, and not just about 2007-2008 post-election violence victims, but other internally displaced persons who meet the legal criteria across our country. Honorable Chair, the unutilized funds which were returned to the government were occasioned by various reasons. Many of the people who had claimed to be IDPs could not prove that they were indeed displacement. Some of them were imposters. There were imposters in the camps. There were also imposters claiming to be integrated in their initial communities with relatives, but there was no proof of displacement. Others had presented fake documents, and yet others who claimed to be IDPs, when they were asked to come for compensation, never showed up, a significant number. So there were various reasons for these funds returning to the Treasury. SEME is not included. We do not have records that we had profiled IDPs from SEME who met the criteria and were left out, but that is something we can look into. As I said, the matter cannot be closed at any time. It is a live matter for as long as Kenya exists. It's part of our ugly history. We must move towards closure, and whenever new evidence emerges, we will deal with it. Honorable Chair, it is true also, as stated by one of the members, that a few IDPs were paid 400,000, and it is true I did not include that in my categorization, because the few cases of payment of 400,000 was cost, or those cases were justified by very peculiar circumstances which can only be explained in a case-by-case basis. But it is true, as the member stated, as the member for SEME. Honorable Chair, it is also true, from my own knowledge as a Kenyan, that there were very elaborate press reports of a Mr. Ndege who suffered huge losses, including death of almost the entire family in Naivasha. If my recollection serves me right, I'll be surprised if such a person was displaced wherever he is in this country and has not been resettled or compensated, because I read graphic details of the story of Mr. Ndege and his family. I want to assure you, Chair and members, that that is a case that I want to take it up with my officers, because it's a case which is in the public domain. Sometimes certain things that come to our knowledge should not be subjected to the strictures of where is the proof. I remember very vividly a fellow who had been burnt, the face was burnt, every part of his body was scarred, and he claimed to have lost all his children, and I think his 2 spouses or something like that. So that is something I want to commit to take it up as a follow-up of this petition. Chair, with regard to Trans Nzoia is in Rift Valley. That's why we didn't have any statistics, because the petition was asking for IDPs in Nyanza and Western region. Otherwise, we are willing to, if there are specific issues around Trans Nzoia, we can address them as a follow-up of this interaction. Finally, Honorable Chair, I want to assure this committee that we are open to ensuring that all Kenyans get justice, and that no Kenyan is treated differently from other Kenyans for whatever reason. And therefore, we will continue getting engaged, and we want to request for the cooperation of members, the support of the committee, the support of the National Assembly as representatives of the people, to continue dealing with these things until we achieve complete justice for every person in our country and close this chapter that has scarred our nation's history. Finally, Chair, is also to agree with some of the members who have raised the issues that this space of IDPs, we are also aware as security managers that this space has been invaded by so many imposters and people who want to benefit from our process by presenting fake narratives, fake stories, and therefore we'll be careful as much as we want closure, so that our people who are not qualified internally displaced persons do not use this process for unjust enrichment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, CS. Honorable members, because of time, we have another petition which Waziri will be handling, and we would request we take that minutes so that we can release you. Waziri, a few things have come out, and I want to...
On a procedural issue, Chair, unfortunately, the second petition that you're referring to doesn't seem to have come to our attention. So I beseech you, Chair, if you could clarify what that petition is, because we only had this petition. It could have been a communication